guys, BellaDonna Black here, and here are 6 real-life scary stories told by Reddit users. So, turn up the lights, get comfortable, and let's begin. Number 1. This story scares the crap out of me every time I think about it. I was at my grandparents' house one night. My grandmother then came into my room at 3:30 in the morning and told me, "Your grandfather needs your help. Get up." This sort of startled me because she has never done anything like this. I go out to where my grandfather is right outside the door. He goes into the garage and he tells me that the garage door just went up and down 6 or 7 times and we need to check it out. I obviously said alright, and we went into the garage and found a pull string that prevents the door from opening, which can only be pulled from the inside. Was pulled. He looks at me and says, "We have to go outside to fix it so that no one can get in." We then headed outside, and when we rounded the corner to look at the garage, the motion lights came on, and there seemed to be scratches on the door. He and I fixed the door and went back to bed. About 2 weeks after this, I was sitting there again and woke up at around 2:30 in the morning to hear stomping in the kitchen, which is very close to my room. I get up and hear the stomps come closer to my door and stop. I figure that my grandfather was just adjusting the thermostat. I opened my door to see what was going on, only to find that everyone in the house was asleep and all the lights were turned off. Needless to say, I didn't sleep well that night. A few weeks passed and I went over there on a weekend because I had nothing better to do. Since it was a weekend, I stayed up rather late and fell asleep watching TV on my bed with the door open. It was about 1:30 in the morning, and for whatever reason, I woke up without any reason. I looked around and realised that I had fallen asleep with my TV on. I looked at my door, and at that instant, I saw a man-sized figure step out of my doorway and walk down the hall towards the kitchen. They slammed my door and stayed up all night. By this time, I was pretty convinced I had a demon or ghost or something in my grandparents' house. I was just relieved that whatever was in their house wasn't following me. Maybe a month after the last incident happened, I was at my dad's house and I was about to go to sleep. At my dad's, I'm on the other side of the house from everyone. It was maybe 10:30 at night and I was about to go to sleep. I had laid down, turned my TV off and was drifting to sleep. Then, outside of my door, I heard a combination of stomping and a really low sound. This honestly scared the hell out of me. I, and all of my infinite wisdom, decided to see what it was. When I opened my door, I saw the same thing that I saw at my grandparents' house. I teared up from fear and left the light on and fitfully tried to sleep. It didn't work well. Maybe a month and a half had passed after the last incident. I was at our friend's house, and he and I cleaned out his shed so we could just hang out in there and smoke his hookah. He usually has a lot of people over to his house. This night, it was just him and I. We were smoking hookah, and we almost finished. We were just listening to some music, and I was just sitting there listening to the music, when all of a sudden, a black flash darted underneath my legs. But I didn't feel anything. I started to look around to see if one of his cats came in with us. As I started to look around, I realised that there's no cat in the shed. I started to become afraid on the inside, but trying to keep myself outwardly calm. I look up at my friend, with a look of being close to panic, and all he says to me is, "I think something just ran underneath your legs." At this point, I started freaking out, because I didn't say anything about it. He showed me that he saw it as well. We both ran out of the shed and went into his house and just watched TV until we calmed down and went to sleep. This was the last time anything like this happened. This was maybe 3 weeks ago. I saw this question and figured that it could be a good read to someone. I have a demon and it's scary. Number 2. When I was maybe 10 or 11, I was homesick from school. I was on the couch watching TV when the doorbell rang. It was the mailman. He told me that he had gotten a package, but it was so big that he needed help carrying it. I wasn't that old, but I knew right away something was wrong. I asked him where his truck was because I didn't see it parked out front. He kept telling me it was around the corner. I asked him why the regular mailman, he always brought lollipops, wasn't here. I was told that he was visiting family. He kept telling me to open the front door, but I politely told him that I wasn't feeling well and that I wasn't allowed to leave the house. I told him we would pick up the box in the post office, and he was telling me how much of a hassle that would be, and how my mum would want me to do this for her. I told him that I would come outside, but that I had to get my shoes from upstairs first. I closed the front door and locked it. Then I ran through the house and locked the back door and called my neighbour who worked from home. She was a close family friend, and I called her up screaming into the phone that she had to come over right away. Then I stood at the locked front door and stared at the man through the window in the door. He saw me staring and yelled through the door asking if I found my shoes. So I yelled to him that I called my neighbour to help carry it because she's older and stronger. He just turned around and ran. I never caught him. I always wondered if he ever managed to trick some other kid. Number 3. I was about 4 or 5 years old and my parents had just separated. My mum was living in a 2-bedroom apartment. I had my own room, but I liked sleeping in her bed whenever I was staying with her. Our 2 bedrooms were at the end of the hallway, directly across from each other. Our apartment was on the first floor, and I remember that it was in the middle of the summer. My mum had a window open that was directly behind the bed. Anyways, I woke up in the middle of the night. I remember sitting up and seeing that our cat was sitting in the doorframe of my mum's room. The door was open and you could partially see into my bedroom. It was strange because our cat was a huge snuggler and was typically always in bed with us. As I was watching him, he walked into my bedroom and meowed. I turned to face my mum and woke her up. In the 3-4 seconds it took her to wake up and ask me what was wrong. We both looked back in the doorframe and there was a man standing by my open door, making his way out of my bedroom. I still don't know how she managed to do it so quickly, but my mother proceeded to pick me up and literally throw me out of the screen window. Again, we were on the first floor, and it was maybe a 3-foot drop to the ground. She quickly followed, and we were able to scream for help, and someone called 911. The police came and didn't see any signs of forced entry, only that our front door was unlocked, which led them to believe that the man had exited that way. But the strange thing was that my mum swore up and down that she had locked the door that night, the deadbolt and chain lock. About a week later, she was cleaning the kitchen and opened up our water heater closet and found a notebook with names and drawings, as well as a pair of gloves and some gum wrappers. The man had been in our house and hid until we were asleep. Number 4. A terrifying true story I experienced when I was 12. I moved to my dad's when I was 10 and didn't know anyone in the area, except for our family my dad was with. Single mom with 3 kids. Luckily there was a girl a couple years older than me, 12 at the time I met her, and we got to know each other a little over a couple of years. We weren't close, but ended up having the same friends. One night my friend Rob was hanging out with her and her younger brother. They happened to be in the house alone because my friend's mum was at work, which is where this gets terrifying and sad. Her mother has been helping this one lady through her work and got to know her fairly well. She found out her sister was in a mental institution and was let out recently. The night Rob was hanging out with my friend, they got a knock on the door. Her friend thought it was just her mum. She knocked a certain way when coming in and answered it without thinking. Rob wasn't supposed to be there and he took off through the window to his house down the road. He never thought twice about it. It wasn't her mum. It was the sister of the lady her mum was helping, and she figured out through talking to her sister where her family lived and her mum's working schedule. She came in, and this is where I don't know all the details, and I'm glad I don't. My friend's younger brother got away to some neighbours to call the police. The lady brutally murdered my friend a week from Christmas, decapitated her and left her body naked in a bathtub, hit her head. They had to look through the presents, and I don't know where they found it, but they did. I wasn't allowed to go to her funeral. Number 5. One of my close friends lived next to a house that was always vacant. It would sell, people would move in, and then one day they'd be gone and the house would be up for sale again. One summer, when the house was listed again and the family had moved out, we decided to take a tour and eat some Jack in the Box we had picked up. We weren't very smart sometimes and thought it would be cool to play chicken with whatever was haunting this house. My friend was really skinny and crawled through the dog door that led straight into the kitchen and opened the back door for me. We went through all the rooms and it was pretty nondescript. Just a typical 50s style bungalow house with similar layout to his home. Lots of pretty woodwork and built-ins. After we determined that the house really wasn't that creepy after all, we sat down in the dining area on the floor, across from a little horseshoe-shaped nook, a kitchen table and built-in bench. It was dusk out, but the windows didn't have curtains, and it never got that dark in our city anyway. At this point, we had been in the house for maybe 25 minutes, and after we finished eating, we stayed sitting just to hang out and talk, since we weren't spooked out at all. All of a sudden, mid-sentence, completely out of nowhere, my vision went black, and I felt this eerie coldness wash all over me. I'm getting chills thinking about it. A feeling so thick, I felt like it penetrated me through my body, down to my bones. The very same moment this happened, my friend screamed. I firstly could not see anything and was groping around, trying to find something to grab onto, and I felt so unsettled and cold. There's really no other word for it. After what felt like hours, I felt my friend's hand in mine and he pulled me to my feet and dragged me through the house to the back door. He kept pulling on my arm and I still couldn't see anything. I got outside and slowly, you know that feeling when you get a whole body shiver that runs down your spine? As soon as I was outside, that's what I felt. Except this was a whole body shiver that started the tip of my toes and went all the way up to my scalp. And unexpectedly and suddenly, I could see again. My friend was as pale as a sheet and looked absolutely terrified. I felt off and sort of gross. I guess it's the best word. And in shock. I told him that I couldn't see at all until I was his side, that I felt like I had been enveloped in blackness. He was just staring at me, and I finally asked him why he had screamed. He hugged me and told me that he'd pulled me out of the house as soon as I started reaching around like I was blind, because a girl who was completely black and yet see-through crawled out from under the table where we were, across from and sat on top of me. Number 6. I've told this before, and it didn't happen directly to me. The following occurred during a family Christmas party when I was a wee lad. We were all together in the living room, with the exception of my aunt and grandmother. They were in the kitchen cooking dinner. My grandparents' house was set up so that the only way to enter it was through the living room or the kitchen, and they were connected to each other. Someone could enter through the upstairs windows, but that would require them to be unlocked, and a pretty big fucking ladder. Anywho, we had all been sitting around for a few hours while dinner was being made, and my grandfather decided to go upstairs for some reason or another. As he was about halfway up the stairs, a woman in a wedding dress, holding an infant, took the corner and stood at the top of the stairs, staring at my grandfather. He was understandably spooked, kind of taken aback. He attempted to say something, but couldn't. He backed down the stairs and the woman slowly followed him down. My grandfather backed into the kitchen. The woman followed him into it as well. She stared at my grandfather, grandmother and aunt, and just laughed before she turned to walk out the door. After a few seconds of "what the fuck" had passed, my grandfather went outside to follow her. She was nowhere to be found. My grandparents lived in a very secluded area. We have no idea who this woman was, or how she got into the house. All windows were locked, and she couldn't have sneaked past any of us. She sat upstairs with a fucking baby for hours, before just up and leaving. Nothing was stolen or ever touched. Her disappearing afterwards just fucks their minds even more. Hi guys, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below and subscribe to my channel. You can also check out my Facebook page and my Twitter. Both links will be found in the description below.